Okay, hello and welcome to everyone from Deer Park Monastery here in Escondido, California. I am Bhante Warapanyo, and this is our Buddha Book Club group meditation activity being hosted in our online meditation center through Discord. This is part 4, exploring and looking through the teachings of Master Linji with the support of the wonderful Zen master, modern Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. In Zen, there are many rich teachings that at first glance may just pique our curiosity, but we don't necessarily have a clear understanding about them or how to put them into practice. And the richness of this book comes from the space that Thich Nhat Hanh offers us to look into these teachings, to explore them, and then to have this, deeply informed explanation and sharing about the teachings that are in this text from the Zen tradition. And as your humble facilitator, I will also be trying to give some extra explanation and information as we read through this text and explore it together. This space is meant to be open and comfortable to ask questions and to discuss and to share. This is actually a way we can practice to expose ourselves and to use the power of the Sangha by sharing our view, right? Sharing our experience, and everyone here can listen to that with our mindfulness. Then we can get some feedback about that view or that understanding. Sometimes our view or our understanding is a little bit off. And just by bringing it up, we can kind of notice that it's not as clear as we thought it was. And sometimes our view or our understanding is more insightful than we realized, and it can help. It can bring benefit to the others in the group. So it's a great place to practice sharing and to expose ourselves, to expose our mind and our views with each other, with the support of Zen Master Linji and Thich Nhat Hanh. Because of the way that we hold these sessions online using Discord as kind of an online space, it's all the more important that we really connect deeply with the mind, and how we connect most directly with each other through the mind is with our practice of mindfulness. So the more that we can use this community gathering in this space to be mindful, to connect with the presentness of our breathing, of our body, of our solidity, of our clarity, that's how we can really be together and nourished by the community at this time. And we don't have to be here, right? There's nothing forcing us to be in this space, but when we're in this space, try to use these supportive conditions to really arrive at home, and know that we are together, in a sense, alone together, but we are together through our practice of mindful breathing, right? We are completely connected, even more than if our bodies were to be together, but we weren't mindful, right? We weren't really present. So let's start our practice today with 3 sounds of the bell and just get settled into the physical position of your body. get the mind settled into the meditation practice of mindful breathing. And the bell invites us to enter more fully, more completely into this space together. So we will start today with number 11 of the, I'm not sure, is it the Zen Battles or is it the Evening Talks? But it's number 11. And I'm not sure what page. It says page 33 on my Kindle here, but that might be different for everyone else. So it's case 11. Case 11. The Master taught, in these times, whoever studies the Buddha Dharma needs right view. Once there is right view, birth and death can no longer touch you. At that point, whether you stay or go, you do so as a free person. You do not need to go in search of the transcendent, but the transcendent will seek you out. Couple points here. Buddha Dharma is the teachings, the path leading to enlightenment. So studying the path. And right view, we can say, is no view, the absence of views. We can also say that right view is concerned with reality. So the right view that sees the selflessness in all selves, just the view of selflessness, right? The right view as seeing the truth of impermanence in all appearances of permanence. The right view that sees the unsatisfactory nature of grasping to any phenomena and the nibbana nature or the freedom nature of not grasping to any phenomena. A little bit of workability in the right view there. And my teacher likes to say the right view is the view of mindfulness and detachment, the view of not someone, not some place, not some time, right? The clear seeing of seeing only. The rejuvenating breathing of breathing only. So once there is right view, birth and death can no longer touch you. At that point, whether you stay or go, you do so as a free person. You do not need to go in search of the transcendent, but the transcendent will seek you out. So as long as we have that right view, we don't need to chase after our enlightenment or our peace or our freedom. Somehow that freedom will seek us out. Friends on the path. The virtuous monks of old have all offered human beings a path of liberation. The place of this mountain monk is just to encourage you not to allow people to delude you. My advice should be enacted immediately. Do not be indecisive or doubting. So friends on the path, maybe we can say the people who are taking refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And not to allow people to delude you, not to be deluded by appearances. And that this advice should be enacted immediately. Do not be indecisive or doubting. If people of our own time are not able to realize the fruits of the practice, why is that? It is because they do not have the virtue of self-confidence. Because you do not have the virtue of self-confidence, you are always preoccupied, in a hurry to run after myriad kinds of objects outside yourselves, and then you are turned around in circles by these objects and lose all your freedom. If you are able to put an end to the thinking that chases after external objects, you will see that there is no difference between you yourselves and our teacher, the Buddha. Okay, we can also say this in quite a nice way, concerned with, the Buddha is freedom. The Buddha nature is enlightenment. The Buddha nature is peace. It's the ending of suffering, right? So if you are able to put an end to the thinking or the kind of compulsive energy that seeks after external objects, these can be mental objects outside of yourself, such as status or praise or fame, or material objects, of course. So if you can put an end to the thinking that chases after something outside yourself, you will see that there is no difference between you yourselves now, the way that you are right now, and peace and freedom. Do you want to know who our teacher, the Buddha, is? The Buddha is you yourselves who are standing before me, listening to me teach the Dharma. The practitioner who does not have enough self-confidence will always direct their attention to look to what is external and wander around and around looking for something. Even if they do find something, that object is just a beautiful form of writing and words. It is not the living mind of the master. So speaking about, looking for this special teaching or this special device that's going to help us realize our path. But this also applies to, any more gross objects that you seek after and find, right? It's like when we're very hungry. Oh, everything looks delicious. What are we going to get? What are we going to eat? What a joy this is going to be. And then when you're full, you don't want to eat anything. Food is disgusting. Same when you've, maybe alcohol. Maybe we idealize this experience of alcohol or caffeine. You get a bunch of it, and then the unsatisfactory nature of it is very clear. So it's just a temporary beautiful form rather than the living mind of freedom. Good monks, do not make this mistake. If in this present moment you are not able to meet the Buddha in person, then for countless lives to come, you will have to be reborn in the three realms of samsara, always searching for something to grasp hold of that will make you feel comfortable, continually being in the womb of an ox or an ass, a donkey, right? So this is the real poignant teaching in Zen that I've always connected with a lot, is that this is the entry point. This is the practice point. This is two great samurai meeting together on the battlefield, right? Life and death moment. So Zen Master Linji say here, in terms of going and looking for something to find something, even that very wonderful thing that you find, right? Precious. It's not the living mind of the master. It's not living freedom. It's grasping onto this temporary object of beauty, right? Good monks, good people on the path, do not make this mistake. If in this present moment you are not able to meet the Buddha in person, that is face to face, mind to mind, breath to breath, eyebrow to eyebrow, then for countless lives to come, you will have to be reborn in the three realms of samsara, or the three realms of existence, right? Higher realms, lower realms, middling realms, heavenly realms, hellish realms, boring realms. Always searching for something to grasp hold of that will make you feel comfortable. Continually being born in the womb of an ox or an ass. So continually coming into this place of being, born as an ignorant person, or someone who just isn't free, doesn't get it, isn't at peace. My friends, as far as the insight of this mountain monk goes, there is no difference between you and Shakyamuni Buddha. Today, in every ordinary daily activity you do you feel you lack anything? Is there any moment when the 6 miraculous beams of light do not shine out? So is there any moment when truth, or the presentness, the clarity of reality as it is not self-evident? Is there any moment that it's not like that? Anyone who has that insight will be a person who has nothing to do throughout their life. Right? Zen Master Linji talks about the businessless person, nothing to do, nowhere to go. And somehow, maybe we idealize the life of a monk, that you can experience that, all the time. And certainly that's my ideal, my aspiration, that nowhere to go, nothing to do, just this moment. But actually, that experience, to be the businessless person, is directly accessible in all of your ordinary everyday activities. You don't need to go and become a monk or some kind of meditation retreat to realize that. It's that forgiveness, that freedom of no longer being on this treadmill of going and doing and gaining and losing. Just stopping, realizing the nature of freedom in everything, every moment of mindfulness. And this is beyond beauty or ugliness. This is beyond pleasant or unpleasant. This is to meet the Buddha face to face. If you've got a sore on your foot, if you were born in the womb of an ox or an ass in your past life, okay, if you're destined to be the next king, this is meeting the Buddha face to face, period. Venerable monks, in the 3 realms there is nothing secure. These realms are like a house on fire. They are not the place to make your lifelong home. At every moment, impermanence, like a demon, is there to put out its hand and take your life, making no distinction between the young and the old, the noble and the lowly. anyone have any insights about that particular section we just read that you'd like to share? Okay, 3 realms: the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. So, venerable monks, in the 3 realms, there is nothing secure, right? In the realm of desire, grasping, getting, experiencing, and losing, there's nothing secure. In the realm of form, okay, we can say the body, mental experiences, mental phenomena, situations, stories, people, etc., right? Nothing is secure. The formless realm, also these deep states of meditation, these deep states of open awareness or a unification, right? Where you experience the dissolution of the body. There's no body there. There's no form there. There's no thinking there, right? In these 3 realms, there is nothing secure. These realms are like a house on fire. Everywhere you go, everything you do, everything you experience, everyone you know, every situation, person, place, everything is like a house on fire all the time. At every moment, impermanence. So they are not the place to make your lifelong home. They are not the place to go to refuge in. They are not the place to become established in your desire, in objects, in maybe the idealization of special states of meditation or experience. At every moment, impermanence, like a demon, is there to put out its hand and take your life, making no distinction between the young and the old, the noble and the lowly, the wealthy and the poor. No distinction. Now, it's interesting how on one level, right, our life or our self-identity experience is very much about the present conditionality that we find ourselves in, right? So Morgan experience is very much related or interdependent with the temperature of the room, right? Bante experience is very much interdependent or dependent upon the degree of gravity on the planet Earth or the people who are here, right? The way that this gathering is going on so far. And even if something as small as the temperature of the room were to change, which of course we know if we were in the area known as Israel Palestine, it's not just the temperature of your room can change, but a bomb can drop. Maybe you won't die in that traditional sense, but your life and this self identity will drastically change. And we always have these experiences happening, right? Impermanence, like a demon, is there to put out its hand and take your life. Now, we tend to identify with this notion of a permanent fixed self that is continuing from one moment to the next, right? It's true that there is interbeing or there is interconnectedness between this self or me as I am right now and that me or as I am right now when I was 5 years old or 10 years old, right? But I also can't say that's precisely me or that's exactly me. I'm not a 10-year-old boy. So this identity that we have, this life that can be taken at any moment by impermanence, is very much so on the gross level of birth and death. It happens right here, right now, and it doesn't matter if you're healthy or wealthy or you live in a castle or you live in a wood hut, right? But also that in the moment by moment changing of these conditions, what is continuing? Right? Is it a self? Is it a someone? Or rather, is it causing conditions that are arising and passing away? And we give ourselves the freedom to look deeply at that situation, right? To drop our biases, not to reject anything. It's actually not too exciting. It's more interesting to drop our biases and look very closely at what is this, what is the self, what is the body, what is the mind, through our looking. Does anyone have a question or a point about that stands out for them? And maybe we can do a raise hand system as well. So if you do want to ask something or something comes up, you can just kind of raise your hand and share, and then I'll call on you when there's a lull in our movement here, our reading. If you want to be no different from the Buddha, our teacher, then do not run after things outside of you. Every movement of your mind that is able to shine out the light of purity is the Dharma body of the Buddha right here in your home. The light of non-discrimination, so the light or the brightness, the clarity of no picking or choosing, no higher or lower, okay, which arises in one moment of recollection, is the glorious retribution body of the Buddha right here in your house, in your home. The light of non-discrimination that arises from every moment of recollection is the transformation body of the Buddha, which is right in your home. These three bodies are not different from you who are standing in front of me listening to the Dharma. This wonderful function can only be possible when you do not direct your energy to chasing after something outside of yourself. Right? And that's really embodied in our meditation practice, in learning how to stop, in learning how to recollect our mindfulness. And we're very fortunate we will get to hear Thich Nhat Hanh's commentary on this text. Having become reliant on scholars who study and write. Okay, Jonathan, go ahead. Jonathan's got their hand raised on Discord.
What is a retribution body?
Well, this is what we're going to find out, right? But even a clearer thing is chasing after mental objects. What is a retribution body? What is the Buddha inside your own home? And the
Retribution
text.
makes it.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Oh, just the retribution sounds like a very punitive type thing, like a very like response.
So what's
Like
your
when
concern
you
about that?
it doesn't. I guess I don't understand how it fits into the bigger Buddhist picture. If it then about some sort of retribution for or against some act.
So this is kind of like with consequence, right? People tend to put that negative connotation to consequence, but a consequence is just cause and effect, right? The consequence of an action. And in Buddhism, maybe we don't value any kind of punishment because punishment would mean that there is someone to punish or someone to be punished. So if we are receiving the glorious retribution body of the Buddha right here in our home, that's not going to have a quality of punishment, but more liberation. The light of non-discrimination which arises in one moment of recollection is the glorious retribution body of the Buddha right here in your home. Okay, so the light of non-discrimination, the brightness, the clarity of not picking or choosing, of no right or wrong, no above or below, no good or bad, which arises in one moment of recollection or one moment of mindfulness, is the glorious retribution body of the Buddha right here in your home. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Tay has to say about that. But certainly there's no punishment in non-discrimination. So Sandra on YouTube says it sounds like the way to achieve peace then is not tied to desires, but also feels very unnatural to do so. Not to tie to desires, sure. To untie from desires. And Robert, do you want to say something?
Oh, I just made a comment that I saw retribution as similar to karma, and the concept of cause and effect. The word retribution here isn't that negative connotation, but one that just shows that there is this concept of cause and effect, and it's part of sort of our existence, and not the way we would normally use the word retribution in a negative sense when we talk about it in ordinary language. So I think that's what they mean. That's what he means in the book.
There's also a spirit in Zen of like the joy of receiving a beating. When we grow up in a cultural or societal framework where there's like this original sin and there's the evil and the good, there's you either go to heaven eternally, you go to hell eternally. I mean, for me, it sounded a little bit distant, a little bit disconnected from me. It didn't make so much sense, but I think that's very deep in our culture and very something that we've adapted to. Or, I mean, look at American prison systems, right? So in Zen, a beating or retribution can be this act of compassion or wisdom. You know, like you come with all this nonsense in your head, and they hit you with a stick. Or, I mean, it depends on the person and the situation, but there can be a real compassion in someone being able to like forgive our own ignorance and to see past that and to see through that and just say wake up and not be worried about the consequences of your ego or the societal ego and these ideas of right and wrong, but just wake up, or get out. And that somehow there's a lot of compassion in that, even though we might not be able to receive it at that time. It can be very beautiful and wonderful, this retribution of compassion, of forgiveness, of mindfulness. Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. The light of non-discrimination. All right, so that is the glorious retribution body of the Buddha that we're talking about. The light of non-discrimination. So that's more the point of it, right? Not the retribution. This is just a describing factor. The light of non-discrimination, which arises in one moment of recollection. And I think it'll be okay to say one moment of mindfulness. Well, we'll see what Thich Nhat Hanh, what Tay has to say about it when we go into the commentary. But the light of non-discrimination, which arises in one moment of recollection. And when we practice mindfulness, we are recollecting. We are remembering who we truly are, what's really happening right now. The light of non-discrimination, which arises in one moment of remembering, is the glorious retribution body of the Buddha right here in your home. I think, Zen, did you want to say something? Zen on
Hi.
Discord?
Yeah. I just wanted to share my experience a little bit regarding the first point, regarding confidence. Um, I think this is something that really resonated with me because I'm a person that is very hesitant and there is not much confidence in my movement, especially consider in regards to social situations. So for me to actually raise my hand, um, what actually took a lot of that there was a lot of hesitation going on to actually do it, and I just want to um, share that struggle on that. Um, I I think um, I think that trying to having the intention to actually be less hesitant and be more confident is a path that I do want to um, strive for. And that point about confidence really resonated with me. And um, and although there's like a lot of struggle and there's like my heart just become that beats a lot in regards to situations that I consider um, pivotal. Um, it becomes like a struggle to actually act in confidence, and that hesitation, I feel, is very human to have. But um, I think that a path that I need to take is to try to be less hesitant, to actually find that freedom to act without hesitation.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say that just to make a step forward in that direction.
All right. So let's listen to Sound of the Bell. Come back to our breathing and let's all experience together the retribution body of the Buddha in our mindfulness, our present moment action of mindfulness as we invite the sound of the bell. Okay, wonderful. Let's continue. Having become reliant on scholars who study and write commentaries on the sutras and shastras, people go in search of the three bodies as absolute standards outside of themselves. And this is a great point that is emphasized very deeply and very strongly in Zen, is that it doesn't matter if it's the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. It doesn't matter if it's the ultimate. It doesn't matter if it's the most practical or the most esoteric or obscure. If you set it up as something that is outside of yourself, as outside of your innate nature, the Buddha in you, you may have a problem. You may have some confusion. Zen Master Linji says, according to me, it is not like that. These three bodies they talk about are just names and words. They can also become three places of refuge that people become attached to and caught in. A teacher of old has said, three bodies are established in dependence on the true meaning. The Buddha lands are commented on in dependence on the original nature. Therefore, the bodies and the lands, in terms of the Dharma nature, are clearly just reflections of light. So, in some sense, we don't need to endeavor to understand all these terms and all these ideas and, what are the three bodies? What are the three realms? Out of curiosity, we may look into it or as an intention to use it. But if we become attached to it, we've missed the point. A teacher of old has said, the three bodies of the Buddha are established in dependence on the true meaning. The Buddha lands are commented on in dependence on the original nature. True meaning, original nature. Therefore, the bodies and the lands, in terms of the Dharma nature, the true nature, are clearly just reflections of light. And it's going to be very difficult to get caught up in or lost in complicated thinking about reflections of light. But it's not going to be difficult to be mindful of them. Venerable monks, you should know that the reflections that people hold on to and play around with are the source of Buddhas. As far as the speaker is concerned, every place is a place of arrival. Every place is the true home for the practitioner. That's a very clear, very direct, and strong point. Every place is the true home for the practitioner. Your body, made of the four elements, does not know how to speak about or listen to the Dharma. Your spleen, stomach, liver, and gallbladder cannot talk about or listen to the Dharma. So what is it that knows how to talk about and listen to the Dharma? It is the bright clarity, which has not the slightest outer form, standing in front of us here. That is what knows how to speak about and listen to the Dharma. If you are able to see that, you are no different from the Buddha and the Masters. The thing is to maintain that insight constantly. Do not allow it to be interrupted. Whenever your eyes are in contact with it, you will be able to see it. Only because emotional attachment arises is understanding obstructed. So the truth is not obstructed. The original nature is not obstructed. The clear blue sky is not obstructed, is not covered up. Only because emotional attachment arises, or only because clouds form, is understanding obstructed. Because perceptions are changing, the form of the true nature changes. That is why there is rebirth in the three realms, and we have to undergo so many kinds of suffering. According to my way of seeing, there is nothing that is not deep and wonderful. There is nothing that is not liberated. My friends, consciousness has no form. It passes freely through the 10 directions. In the eyes, it is called sight. In the ears, it is called hearing. In the nose, it is called scent. In the mouth, it is called conversation. In the hands, it is called holding. In the feet, running and jumping. All of these arise from one shining light, which is divided into 6 functions working together in harmony. Whenever wrong thinking does not arise, there is liberation. What do I mean by that? It is only because you have not been able to put an end to seeking that you fall into traps that the ancient ones have spread out for you. So also this notion in Zen that it's not only our habit energies and our addictions and our unskillful ways of thinking or being that we get trapped in, but even we get trapped in the teachings of Buddhism, or we get trapped in the explanations from the monks and nuns. So it's that real cutting, that finishing, that ending, that resolving that's right here in a moment of mindfulness. Don't be caught in anything. Don't be deluded. Don't be led along by anyone. It is only because you have not been able to put an end to seeking that you fall into traps that the ancient ones have spread out for you. My friends, try and apply my insight. Sit still and cut off the heads of every retribution and transformation body of the Buddha. See that all bodhisattvas in the 10 bodhisattva stages, all the fully awakened and wonderfully awakened ones, are just like shackles coming to imprison you. Arahats and self-enlightened ones are like the latrine pit. Awakening and enlightenment are tethering posts for mules. Why? Because you have not been able to realize clear understanding of the emptiness of 3 incalculably long kalpas or eons. You run into the obstacles that you are presently experiencing. If you practiced correctly the true teachings, it would not be like that. You just need to use these favorable circumstances to put an end to your past karma. Put on your robe as a free person. When it is necessary to walk, walk. When it is necessary to sit, sit. Do not for a moment yearn for Buddhahood. Do not for a moment yearn for enlightenment. Why? Men of old have said, if you want to find the Buddha by making the practice hard labor, Buddha will become the retribution that holds you in the cycle of birth and death. Venerable monks, venerable lay people, venerable friends on the path, time is very precious. You should stop the mind, which is always wandering around, running to the neighbor's house to study Zen, to learn the way, looking for a sentence, looking for words, seeking the masters, seeking the Buddha, seeking a good spiritual friend. Do not take this mistaken direction. You need to look into yourselves. A teacher of old said, Yajnadatta thought he had lost his head, but when his mind was able to stop searching, he was able to achieve the state of having nothing to do right away. Venerable fellow practitioners, you should live your lives in a very natural way. Do not put on airs. There are a number of shaved heads who are not able to distinguish good from bad. They say they see spirits and demons. They point to the east and the west, and they pray for rain and for sunshine. This group will surely have to repay what they have borrowed, and one day, before the judge of the dead Yama, they will swallow lumps of molten iron. And those of good families who are deluded by this group of wild fox spirits will also have to pay the debt of rice they have eaten. There is no way they can avoid it. Okay. So this was the, this is an evening talk. Evening talk, commentary 11. is what we're going to move into now. Okay, yeah, so we'll move into commentary 11. And this is from the evening talk. So we moved out of the Zen Battles. This part 4. And it's a very powerful, it's to stop seeking, even for those things we think we. And we are on page 81 if you have the book with you. So commentary, good night, Tom. Commentary 11. In this teaching, Master Linji tells us we have to come back to ourselves and have confidence in ourselves. And coming back to ourselves we can take as our mindfulness, coming back to our mindfulness. We shouldn't beg for crumbs from others, including from the Buddhas, the masters, spiritual teachers, the sutras, and other scriptures. When we notice that mind of looking for someone, looking for some experience, some place, know how and remember, come back to yourself. Come back to your breathing, nourish yourself. We shouldn't beg for crumbs from others, including from the Buddhas, the masters, the spiritual teachers, the sutras, and other scriptures. The things we are looking for are not in those places. This appears frequently in Master Linji's teachings, but is especially clear here. If we search for something outside ourselves, we will never find it. We have within us all the seeds of Buddhahood. The Buddha and the Masters do not belong to the past, the future, or another place. They are here with us in this present moment. Master Linji asked, "Do you want to know who our teacher, the Buddha, is?" The Buddha is you yourselves who are standing before me, listening to me teach the Dharma. That statement is very revolutionary. Our true person is the Buddha and the Master, and that true person is right inside us. All the Buddhas and all the worlds talked about in the sutras are products of our mind, our consciousness. We shouldn't look for them in space, and we can't find them in time. We can only find them in our own consciousness. When learning the sutras and the commentaries, when listening to the Dhamma, we have to maintain our freedom. When we are pulled, excited, and lured by images that people present to us, we lose ourselves. Friends on the path. The virtuous monks of old have all offered human beings a path of liberation. The place of this mountain monk is just to encourage you not to allow people to delude you. My advice should be enacted immediately. Don't be indecisive or doubting. When Master Linji addressed the audience as friends on the path, he meant they were his fellow practitioners, people going together on the same path. like a flowing river. When he said this mountain monk, he was referring to himself. Buddhist teachers of the past have shown us Dharma doors, entry points, skillful means to help us find a way out of suffering. But if we don't understand these well-intended teachings, we may be caught in them, in words and ideas, and then these teachings can become a hindrance. Do not trap yourself in words and ideas. This is not the joy of life. This is not the truth of life. This is not the freedom of life. Do not trap yourself in words and ideas. But if we don't understand these well-intended teachings, we may in fact be caught in them, in words and ideas, and then these teachings can become a hindrance. There are teachers who worry that if they speak the truth, they will lose their followers and their temple. They fear that if they don't do and say what the followers want, they won't be able to pay the telephone and electricity bills, and they'll have nowhere to live and practice. This situation existed in China during Linji's time, and it exists today in Europe, the United States, and in other countries. But Master Linji was unlike other teachers. He had the courage to speak the truth that was in his heart. He only wanted to be the true person. So here is the great insight that if you were to speak the truth or be clear about these teachings, people may not follow you. People may not believe in you. People may find it out and figure it out for themselves. They may decouple from their teacher or their identification as Buddhists. Or they may not relate to you in the way you want them to relate to you, right? Or they may act in such a way that is difficult for you. But Linji just wanted to be the true person. He wanted to express how it is, his experience, his understanding, his position. And we can all aspire to that, but from a place of mindfulness, wisdom, and compassion, not from our reliance on our ego and our words and ideas, our stories, our judgments, but just speaking bluntly, speaking matter-of-factly, right? And I love when Master Linji speaks in here and says, the Buddhas and the great masters of old are a latrine pit. He's saying it how he knows it, right? This whole thing is a not to be attached to, not to be lost in, not to be confused by, but a kind of springboard for authentic action of mindfulness. Can you use it? And can you use it with the right view? Can you use it from a place of freedom? Or do you need to be led along? Do you need to be tied to a pole? Do you need to be convinced of something? Or can you just get it and be free and see what happens, you know? And I also saw in this teaching Zen Master Linji talk about the timelessness or the eons, right? It's only because you haven't experienced this timelessness, these eons of no thought or not someone, nowhere to go, nothing to do, that you rely on these contrivances, these traps that are set up, these transactions, these relationships that are from a place of grasping and not from a place of freedom. The Venerable Mangyak wrote a poem about reading the Diamond Sutra. Here are 2 lines from that poem. The Diamond Sutra is one of the classic, revered, very high-level Mahayana teachings, traditional, very old sutra. There is no longer the Diamond Sutra. The Zen door disappears, and I am without words. To tease him, I rewrote the lines like this. We are kicked out of the temple. Our mouths are stiff, and we can't say anything. How do you want to greet that demon of impermanence? Is it with confusion and stress and struggling to find freedom, or is it experiencing, knowing that impermanence and meeting that demon at the door and being free? Kicked out of the temple, out on the street, people not seeing you the way you want them to see you. Can you find that businessless person? Can you find that not someone, not some place, not some time, right there at that moment? Because we will all meet that moment, whether it's in sickness, old age, or death. So why not practice with it now? Why not realize it right now? What these poems are saying is that if we let ourselves be misled by others, we lose ourselves. We shouldn't run after anything or anyone, even a Zen master. All the things we learn and listen to must have the capacity to bring us back to ourselves and increase our capacity to be free, to be happy, to be solid. Now, right? Don't get stuck in the trap of coulda, shoulda, woulda. Where you are is where you are. Wherever you go, that's where you'll be. Don't get stuck in the details or, I chased after this Zen master, what a mess I made for myself, or I chased after Buddhism, or I chased after this or that. Wherever you go, that's where you are. Right here and now. Now, we shouldn't run after anything or anyone, even a Zen master. All the things we learn and listen to must have the capacity to bring us back to ourselves and increase our capacity to be free, to be happy, to be solid. We may hear this teaching and understand it, but we may still be weak and hesitant and think, tomorrow or the next day I'll arrange things so I can have freedom. But a river never stops flowing. If we hesitate and think, tomorrow or the next day I'll arrange things, if we hesitate, we will never have freedom. All right? If we hesitate, we will never have freedom. If we don't do it now, we'll never do it. If we've understood the teaching, we have to put it into practice right away. Master Linji said of the Buddhist practitioners of his time that if they couldn't reach enlightenment, it was because they didn't have confidence. Nowadays, just as in 9th century China, we rush after things outside and then feel manipulated and controlled by the situations we've gotten ourselves into. If we are able to stop those ideas of seeking and running after something, then we will see there is no difference between us and the masters, us and the Buddha. In the Plum Village tradition, we perform ceremonies such as touching the earth, lighting incense, or being in touch with a statue on an altar to maintain and renew our confidence in ourselves. We must pay respect and touch the earth in front of the Buddha in such a way that we see that the one who bows and the one who is bowed to are one. We pay our respects to the Buddha in such a way that the faith in our capacity to be enlightened, to be happy, is strengthened and grows every day. In Buddhist scriptures, it says that the Buddha has 3 bodies. So we get lost in the words 3 bodies, and we search for this and that body, never touching the peace, the liberation, and the greatness that is the Buddha body alive in ourselves. The 3 Buddha bodies are the Dharma body, the retribution body, and the transformation body. The Buddha has thousands of transformation bodies, and if we aren't careful, we look for these bodies everywhere but in ourselves. We seek these things, not realizing that they are only products of the mind's imagination. Some of us call the Creator Almighty. We see Him as someone outside of ourselves who has all the power. If we believe in that image, then we believe that after we die, we will go to the kingdom of God and sit at the foot of the Almighty. We think He is in a higher place with the power to attain whatever He wants. We think we are sitting down here in a very low place. In Buddhism, it's the same. We imagine the world-honored one, the Buddha, surrounded by limitless light and innumerable bodhisattvas, or enlightened beings. This Buddha has the 32 auspicious signs and the 80 special characteristics, and thousands of retribution bodies, transformation bodies, and Dharma bodies. Where do we go to find a Buddha, to find God? We can't find them in beautiful images and literature. The people who wrote down the Bible and the people who wrote down the Buddhist sutras were artists. They used images to express their insights. Master Linji said, if in this present moment you aren't able to meet the Buddha in person, then for countless lives to come, you will have to be reborn in the 3 realms of samsara, always searching for something to grasp hold of that will make you feel comfortable, continually being born in the womb of an ox or an ass. And this is really true, right? We make a commitment to go on a diet or to start exercising or to deepen our practice, but we don't meet it right then and there. We don't step into the practice right then and there. And then we're constantly being reborn as an ass of ourselves, a donkey of ourselves, right? Born in the womb of an ox, of ignorance. Oh, why am I still in the same situation? So we've got to meet the Buddha body. We've got to meet the Buddha. We've got to step into that practice right here, right now. That's the work. That's the generosity. That's the vulnerability. That's the openness. That's the clarity. That's real mindfulness. Right in this moment, we are listening to the Dharma, and the Buddha is sitting with us, sitting inside us. In this moment, if we can't touch the Buddha, then we shouldn't talk about the future. Only the present moment is real. If we lose this present moment, then we can't get in touch with the Buddha, and for thousands of lifetimes, we will continue in the circle of samsara, being conceived, being born, and dying as humans and other beings. In this moment, if we can't touch the Buddha, then we shouldn't talk about the future. Right in this moment, we are listening to the Dharma, and the Buddha is sitting with us, sitting inside us. So what is that, right? Well, it's not being alone. It's not being in fear. It's not being isolated and depressed. It's not being unable or not having the strength to free and to end that suffering. It's the Buddha sitting right there with you. It's enlightenment right there with you. It's peace and compassion and safety and renewal right there with you, inside of you. All the Buddha worlds are contained in this present moment. And we can see that as like all the different forms of freedom and safety and the potential for enlightenment and contacting our some embodiment of great wisdom or compassion that can alleviate those sufferings we experience, right? All the Buddha worlds are all those capacities and supporting conditions to end our suffering and to heal are contained in this present moment, and we can be in touch with them easily. And that is a miraculous power. To access this miraculous power, all we need to do is listen to a bell of mindfulness and let it bring us fully into the present moment. Let's give it a shot. When we hear the bell, we let go of all thinking, return to the breath, and get in touch with limitless time and space, in touch with the past, the present, and all the worlds. There are no Buddhas that we can't get in touch with in that moment. So we're a little bit past the hour mark now, and we'll end the guided reading. We'll stop there for today. And if anyone has a question or something they'd like to share about everything that we've covered so far, we can have some time to do that. Question or sharing or pointing to something particular in the text that stood out.
Me when you were reading. So back in there was one part where you said the thing is to maintain it constantly and to don't allow it to be interrupted, and wherever your eyes are in contact with it, you'll be able to see it. And it kind of tickled me a little bit because it's like it's of course right now it's difficult to maintain that constantly. And then a few paragraphs later, it says, do not for a moment yearn for Buddhahood. And while I can't really explain my understanding of that, I intuitively think I get what it's saying.
Great. Our non-seeking, our practice of non-seeking is to recollect that insight. But we don't try to get that insight. We don't try to experience non-seeking. It's our nature to not seek. You're not a business person until you apply for a job, until you invest, until you start buying and selling, until you sign a contract. So by your nature, you are businessless. By your nature, mindfulness only, or seeing only, or hearing only, this oceanic awareness. So we come back to that practice. We don't need to seek to walk. The intention is there to walk, and then we just walk. Go ahead, Yezen.
Hi. So my understanding from those texts is that whenever we feel doubtful, whenever we feel hesitant, whenever we feel attached, whenever we feel like we've lost uh, the path, we should look into ourselves, and that's the only place where we could possibly find ourselves, where we could possibly find freedom, where we could possibly find um, detachment from those materials that we keep on searching for. And faith cannot be found in seeking, but it can be found in ourselves. And every time we feel those things, we feel attachment, or feel hesitancy, or um, lack of confidence. We should look into ourselves and find inside of us um, that confidence and that freedom. Is my understanding of the readings.
Yeah, and mindfulness as the tool or the access point, the connection point for that, right? Connecting with our true self rather than our ego, our likes and dislikes, our words and phrases. But if we want to enjoy seeing, enjoy the gift of being able to see, not being blind, right? You're not looking for some particular object to see. It's not about that. It's the seeing itself. So when it comes to yourself, it's your mindfulness, it's the awareness itself that you're tuning in, learning how to nourish yourself with that true self rather than the ego self or the story self. Great. Sounds good, Yezen. Go ahead, Lee. You want to unmute and share?
Hi. I just want to share a little bit about the part where you talked about the Diamond Sutra, and that resonated with me because I asked a question about this a couple sessions prior, and in listening to you speak a little bit prior about the Diamond Sutra, I realized that I was seeking the knowledge for a little bit of a product of greed rather than its intended teachings, and maybe that's what led to my confusion in understanding it. And that really opened up my eyes because I didn't really know that what I was looking for when I was seeking that knowledge. But after hearing that, I realized that maybe I was looking at it from a more of a greed angle than what I should have been.
Yeah, that's great. Good job. And the more we lessen our energeticness about those qualities or those grasping states of mind, the more clearly we can practice the deep looking and the penetrating into the practice, right? And decoupling from those unnecessary focuses, those wasted energies. We can look more and deeply. We can practice our mindfulness more wholeheartedly without the extra layer of grasping or searching in it. Okay, let's finish with sharing the merit. Can all bring our hands together and repeat after me. And we'll do the dedication of the merit, and then we'll do 3 sadhus, which means well done, good job, and sharing out, offering out. May all the good deeds and their effects that we have done till now
You have done till now.
Till now,
be dedicated and shared out towards all beings.
Be dedicated and shared
be
out
dedicated
towards all
Towards
beings.
all beings.
May all beings rejoice and share in good deeds and good effects.
May all beings rejoice and share good deeds and their good effects.
May we especially dedicate our practice to those in the area known as Gaza, Palestine, Israel, Palestine.
May we
especially
dedicate our practice
To those in the area
Known
of
as
Gaza,
Israel,
Palestine, Israel, Palestine.
Israel, Palestine.
May the peace in our mind establish peace in the world.
May the peace in our mind
May the peace
establish
in our
peace in our world.
establish peace in the world.
May it be,
May it be,
May it be,
may it be,
may it
may
be,
it be,
may it truly be.
may it truly be.
May it truly be.
Sadhu.
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 Sadhu. Okay. Thank you, dear friends, for being here, and see you again soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.